What's going on, lovelies? Today we're going over Psycho 3, which came out in 1986 and was directed by Anthony Perkins himself, stars Anthony Perkins and Jeff Fahey, who was just in Planet of Terror I saw recently. How convenient. And this movie takes place 1 month after the events of Psycho 2, and it's about Norman Bates just trying to move on with his life with his new dead mother. But then this other woman walks into his life and she reminds him of Marian Crane, and it sets him off. He's in love with her. He's guilty about what he did to Marian Crane, and he wants to treat this woman better than he did to the Marian Crane, but the mother side of him is still there, and killings start happening because of her jealous rage. This is a movie that's kind of mixed. A lot of people love it. Some people don't really care for it too much. Some people would say this is the decline in the franchise before we get to part 4, which I know is much more not liked. Some people still like that one, but this one, some people might argue, is the downhill slope for this franchise, and there's only 4, so there's not that many. But even Roger Ebert said he liked this one more than part 2. I kind of disagree, so it kind of just spoiled my opinion on this movie. I still enjoyed it, but let's go over it in this week's Horror Franchise Wednesday.
Psycho 3.
Y'all know how this works. We're going to go over the positives first, and then the negatives, and then I'll give my rating, and then we will go over the spoiler discussion, where I will analyze and nitpick little things and go into more depth with the things I liked and did not like. You know how it goes, unless you're new. And then, hello, welcome. We're a place to start, but hey, I always welcome newcomers. First up, the positive of this movie is, once again, Anthony Perkins. I always find him the most entertaining, except Jeff Fahey. He kind of outdoes him in this one for the entertainment factor. We get a lot more entertainment from Jeff Fahey. He's another positive. He's the dickhead that you just hate and you want to see him die, but he's entertaining. He's so far out there. He does some crazy shit that I will get into later on, but he is likable because of how unlikable he is. You're just like, oh my gosh, I love you, you evil bastard. I like that we get to see a little bit more from Norman. Like, it's not a much more exploration of his character, this one, but we do get to see him fall in love, so we get to see that side of him, and I like that we get to see him actually talk like his mom, and he has this conversation with his mom like he does in the other 2 movies, but in this one, we actually get to see him have that conversation with his mom. I thought that was just a nice added touch that we didn't get to see that before. Anything different, I like that. And we also get to see a lot more of that internal struggle between, like, him and his mom. In the first one, there wasn't that at all. Like, the mom's side was always taking over. It was always winning and dominating him. It was the dominant, like, side of his brain that always took over. He couldn't stop it. In this one, it's actually like an internal struggle, and you see a lot more of it, and he's like trying to fight it. So I like that. That's a little different. We didn't get to see that before, so I like that. There's a couple of good kills in this one. It's not too gory, but then again, neither were the other ones. This one's probably right below part 2 in the gore factor. I mean, there's only like 2-3 kills in all these movies that you see on screen, so it's not like a Friday the 13th body count or anything where the bodies are stacked to the ceiling. But the couple of kills we do get in this one are entertaining. They're fun. They're memorable. One of them's funny. So I like the kills in this one. I might even like them more than part 2, but there's just one in part 2 that really stands out that I think is the best of all of them. Unless something is awesome in part 4. I haven't seen it yet. So a couple of good kills. And what else is there? I like the cast and continuity still. There's still the cast continuity with the same actors coming back, and you still got that set. You got the Bates Motel, you got the house, and it's all there. You even got the people from the diner from part 2. They're here, all the same, like the same waitress, the same diner owner. All that shit's still there, and I love it. I just love that this is picking up where the last one left off. 1 month after it. And I was actually worried because I read the synopsis on the back, and it acted like part 2 didn't exist. It was like, years after, it's been years, and now Norman's released from prison. I'm like, well, wait, that was the plot synopsis for 2. So is this going to ignore part 2? So it kind of confused me before walking into it, but I was so glad it was not ignoring the previous ones, because you know how I am about that. I love continuity. That's why I didn't like the Leprechaun franchise, and multiple other reasons. But I hate that the Leprechaun franchise has like no continuity. It's just dumb. Now the best shot in this movie will go to the grandma in the house scene from far away. Maurine looks up and she sees her and like lightning flashes. It's creepy. It's probably one of the creepiest shots in the movie. So that's why I picked it. Now for the little things I did not like. Okay, continuity, this is taken away. This is the only continuity that isn't carried over, and that's the score. I did not care for this score at all. It was composed by this guy who works with the Coen brothers since they started. I forget his name, but I don't like it. I don't care for it. It's kind of weird. It's just, it doesn't set the right tone that it should set. Like, my motto is, if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it. So why change it, you know? So that's my feelings on that. I didn't care for it. It's not terrible, but why? Why change it? Tension is basically non-existent no more. Like, the first two had tension. Like, by that third act in part 2, I was like, holy shit, I was on the edge of my seat. Like, what's about to happen? What the hell's going on? In this one, there's really nothing going on. It's pretty face value what's going on. There's no, like, real mystery. It doesn't really try to create one. It's pretty face forward. It's like, you know what's going on. We're not trying to, like, add any more, like, mystery. Because it's the third movie in. What else could they do? What else could they add? It's just Norman once again. That's not really a spoiler. I mean, it's Norman. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't like try to like create red herrings like maybe it's this person, maybe it's Jeff Fahey. It's like, no, it's Norman. But yeah, there's like no tension. There wasn't any scene where I was like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen? You know, like nothing like that. So the first two had that. This one did not. Acting on some parts is a step down from the first two movies. I didn't like Meg Tilly, and I don't like this main girl in this movie either. I found her very dumb. She's so dumb that it's annoying. But yeah, I don't like that there's no major twist. That's what the first two were known for, is twists. So I thought this was gonna trick me, so I was like trying to think ahead of it, like, all right, what's gonna be the thing? And it was like, oh, there's nothing. There's no. It's just a straight up slasher. So I didn't like that. And it doesn't set up any red herrings, and this sequel doesn't feel necessary. We don't learn anything new about Norman. It's the same shit. There's like this one small little twist, but it's just like a redo of something else. It's like, well, no, erase that, and then we're back to square one. And I'll get into it more specifically in my spoiler discussion, but if you've seen the movie, I think you might know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, there's really no reason for this sequel. It's just like, oh, let's just make another one. Norman will kill again, and there will be no twist, and it's just going to be him killing a couple of people, and that's it. And it's like, really? What is the purpose of this sequel? There is no purpose. It's like Friday the 13th now. Rinse and repeat. But yeah, it just, at this point, it kind of feels tired and repetitive now. It's kind of redundant, but it's still enjoyable. It's not a bad movie. At this point, watching these back to back, it's kind of like, all right, we've been here, done that. And now it's just like Norman killing again. And it's like, okay, you know, like they don't expand on Norman. There's nothing more that we need to know. We know everything that we need to know about Norman. So I just didn't see the necessity for this sequel. So, but it was still a fun time. I enjoyed it. Now, the hottest chick in this movie will go to Red. That's right, Red from Friday the 13th Part 5 and Slumber Party Massacre 2, I believe. I haven't seen that one, but I saw that she was in that. But I immediately recognized her when Jeff Fahey picks her up at the bar. I looked at her for like 3 minutes straight. I was like, who is this? I know her from somewhere. And it finally clicked. It was like Friday the 13th Part 5. And the clap reward for best scene will go to the blackmail scene with Jeff Fahey and Norman Bates and everything that transpires in that scene. The way it's lit, the atmosphere of that scene, the creepiness of what Jeff Fahey is doing. It's awesome. It's a funny scene too. It's got all kinds of emotions in it. It's creepy, funny, and just awesome. Balls to the wall crazy. Alright, so yeah, I had a pretty decent time with this movie. It wasn't great. I mean, I don't see... It was... At the end of the day, I was just kind of like, no, that was alright. So yeah, therefore I'll just say when it comes to Psycho 3, if you're a fan of the first two, this one's worth checking out, but it's not really one that's worth watching again and again. Not one that I'll watch anytime soon. So maybe just check this one out at Redbox. The Mr. Hat Award goes to the girl in the giant who gets her throat slit wide open, gargling on her own blood, and then she gets stabbed in the stomach, and then for some reason he stabs the roll of toilet paper. Kind of stupid, but whatever. It's a great kill. And the Mr. Twig Award for worst kill in this movie goes to Maurine, because she's a dumb bimbo. What the hell was she thinking? She deserves to get an arrow in the back of the head. I think Tracy said it best.
You dumb, stupid, naive girl.
Now let's just get into my spoiler discussion, because there's a lot to talk about. There is a lot. So it starts with the sister, Maurine, and she's like, there is no God. That's how the movie opens. It's just like that being screamed. And immediately I was like, whoa, where is this going? And I'm not a fan of like faith things in movies and like the whole nuns thing. The whole sister and nun thing just feels done to death in movies. I'm kind of sick of it. And then she gets this woman killed. She gets a nun killed. Just like lets her go. Like she's like the nun grabs onto Maurine and she like lets go, and then the woman like falls to her death. And the way they shot that was pretty cool. But yeah, she lost her faith and now she's on her merry way, and she gets picked up by Jeff Fahey, who isn't the best person to get picked up by. And he's got this guitar. He's like, watch the guitar. He's like he's going to LA to be a singer. But then he tries to like rape her. But there's like this little callback right before that. It's kind of like a callback to the first one, I think, where they're like driving down the road and it's like pouring down rain, so he can't see, so he's got to pull over and sleep. That has to be a callback to the first one where Marian has to pull over and sleep. But yeah, he like tries to fuck her, and then she's like, no, and then he's like, bitch, you could have been coming, but now you're going. Get out of my car.
Stupid bitch! You could have been coming instead of going.
See, it's like such a bitch, but he has these funny lines. You're like, you're an asshole, but that was kind of funny. I'll have to use that line somehow. I don't know how I'll use it because I don't plan on raping anybody, but that's a funny line. I'll have to use that sometime. Like, you could have been coming, but now you're going. But not only that, he like takes her suitcase and he throws it in a pile of like mud, and it's like, you're an asshole. And then we see these birds and they're eating poison. So Norman once again is poisoning things. I like that we get to see him like taxidermy things, because before we just knew he stuffed things, but now we actually get to see him stuff birds. So I kind of like that. And, it's just something, just a little nice touch to the film. But then he realizes one of the birds alive and he just like lets it go. It's like, why? You're gonna stuff it anyways. But I guess he's like, that's not humane. I prefer poisoning things. I'm not gonna snap its neck. But I like how he's using a spoon for the stuffing that he's using for the birds, and then he goes from that to scooping out peanut butter for his crackers. So he's using the same spoon for stuffing birds and eating peanut butter. Disgusting. He has a new haircut. It's a month later, but he has a whole new haircut. He looks like Justin Whalen in Child's Play 3. And then we see Miss Spool in the newspaper setting up continuity, saying that this is indeed after part 2. And then we see the diner, the chef, the sheriff is back. And then Maurine walks in, and Norman's like immediately freaking out, like, holy shit, she looks like Marian. And he even calls her Marian at one point. And then her initials are MC, like Marian Crane. Coincidence. There's a couple more coincidences that I will get into. But Maurine needs a cabin, so Maurine goes to the hotel where Jeff Fahey is now working. Man, Maurine's luck, she's out of it. Like, could you imagine that? Like, you just got away from that asshole the night before. You go to a random hotel, and guess who's working there? The guy who tried to rape you. That is fucking like bad luck. Then Jeff Fahey gives her cabin 1, and then Norman like freaks out about it. He's like, you gave her cabin 1? Now I gotta like fight the urge to not like look at her through the peephole. And then he's like fighting that urge. He's looking at the poster and he's like, fuck it. He takes it off and he sees her through the peephole, taking a shower. Except she's taking a bath now. But yeah, she's taking a bath now instead of a shower. And then we find out she slit her wrist, which to me was obvious up front because of how like sad she's been the whole movie at this point. So I kind of saw it coming. I was like, well, this is kind of too early for her to be getting killed off by Norman. So I bet she slit her wrist. And that's what she did. And then coincidentally, she sees, Norman dressed as Mother, but she hallucinates him as like the Virgin Mary holding a crucifix instead of a knife. That's a coincidence. Lucky for Norman, because if she saw what she really saw, that would be the end of the movie right there. She could report him to the police. Or, I don't know how that would work. Maybe not. I don't know. But then Duke goes to Jeff Fahey, he goes to the bar and he starts flirting with Tracy, who's this journalist who's trying to prove that Norman killed Miss Spool because for some reason she gives a shit. But she wants to like get Norman locked up. She's the new Lila, but she's not as crazy. And she's at the bar and Duke starts flirting with her. Like, really? There's this group by the end of the scene that you find out there's been this group to the right the whole time. Like 4 women, gorgeous. And he goes to the middle-aged woman who looks like a bitch from far away. Like, she's got this like, don't talk to me look on her face. And he goes up to her, he tries to do his game, and she shuts his shit down immediately. And that's another thing about her. She's a smart mouth, bitch. Like, the things that she says, she's just such a sarcastic, snarky bitch. And it's kind of annoying. But I get it. I don't know, I found her annoying as a character. It's not the actress's fault, it's the writing. Like, I didn't like her as a person. I was like, you know what? Lose the attitude. But yeah, he tries to buy her a drink, and it's like, I'm having a hard time believing this. This only needs to happen so he can learn about Norman, because he doesn't know about Norman and his history, because for some reason, that's not a known thing. It's like, that would be widespread, like the John Wayne Gacy of the time. Like, everybody would know, but apparently not. Here's another thing. Why would you take off all your clothes to commit suicide in the bathtub? It just seems kind of pointless, you know? Like, there's no point. You're not trying to get cleaned up. There's no point. You know, I wouldn't want people to find me naked when I'm dead. You know what I mean? That's just dumb. I don't know. But yeah, Norman saves her instead of killing her. He went in to kill her, and he ended up saving her. It's funny. And then he goes to the hospital with her, and there's a couple of callbacks there. He says, you know, FOC, free of charge. And he says, you know, we all go a little mad sometimes. So there's a couple of callbacks in here. And then, all of a sudden, I forget what the scene was, wherever they were. I think it was outside the hotel, yeah. They're outside the hotel, and there's a dog barking. The whole there's no other cabins used, so you can't be like, well, maybe somebody is using one of the cabins and they have a dog. No. There's not another place in sight. Nobody has a dog here, but there's a dog barking. There was a dog barking on set that day or something. Man, Duke is more evil than Norman. He gets a slut from the bar, takes her home, fucks her, but before that, he's doing like this little lamp show. He's got like a lamp that he's like pretending is his dick. And he's like doing this like a little lamp show. And he's like waving them back and forth and like creating like this little light show for her to dance to. And he's got like all this like paper mache or like all these like clippings of girls pasted all over everything. Like the lamp shades and everything. And it's like he's only been working there like a couple days, and he's got all this shit in the back of his car that he's like puts up real quick. Yeah, he's a psychopath, all right. But he fucks her, and she's that cliche girl, like, doesn't get that guys like that don't want to be with them, and she's like, you know, I want to let's take this to the next step, you know, let's make a relationship out of this. And he's like, whatever, I just wanted to fuck you, get out of my room. And he kicks her out naked, throws her clothes at her. He's a dick. And then she goes to use the phone booth, and this is when she gets killed, and I think maybe this is a callback to The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock film, where there's like a big old scene with a phone booth. And this phone booth was not in part 2, so I guess in the last month, Norman Bates added a phone booth, and then he added an ice machine. There is a phone booth in part 1 that the PI uses, but it was not in that location that it is in this film. So, bullshit. But I like that when he goes to stab her, he like punches a hole through the glass door to get to her instead of just opening the door. It's like, that was excessive and not needed, but then it like creates like broken glass that she's like now stepping on. So not only is she getting stabbed, but she's getting glass in her feet like John McClane in Die Hard. And then we get the call back to, oh, blood, mother, blood. And it's still dumb sounding. It still sounds dumb. But whatever, it's a callback. And then I guess Maurine's just released from the hospital the next day, and she's like having these psychiatrist meetings, and then she gets picked up by Norman like the next day. It doesn't say like 2 days later or a week later. Like, I'm not sure how long you would be committed, but when you try to kill yourself, they try to keep you there until they believe that you are safe to go. But she's like, no, I'm free to go. Like, I slipped my wrist, both of them last night, but I'm free to go. I'm feeling much better now. I like to go back to that hotel with the psychopath. And then the journalist goes to Miss Spool's house, and she sees all these numbers written everywhere, and then she finally finds one that like matches with the Bates Motel number. So that right there is like, oh yeah, Miss Spool was calling. That just kind of confirms that Miss Spool was indeed calling the hotel, because she had to at some point in part 2 to be like, I'm your real mother, and that's where he got the idea. And then meanwhile, Norman's just going on a date with this chick, Maurine, after saving her life, that she just feels like, you know, I have to be with him. And this is like before she knows about him. Like, she doesn't know his past at this point, but she's like at a dance with him, and there's people in that room like looking at them. Are they looking at them like there's a huge age gap, or are they looking at them like, that's fucking Norman Bates, and I know what he did? But during this dance scene, there's a clicking noise throughout the whole fucking scene, like a good 2 minutes. But yeah, then they go back to the hotel, and there's like all these like football jocks and cheerleaders there, They didn't mention them at the beginning when he's hiring Jeff Fahey. But they set up all these streamers and balloons. They're decorating the outside of the whole hotel. Who does that? Like, you don't have permission for that. Did Norman say, yeah, you can decorate the whole hotel? No, I don't think he said that. But he goes to make love with Maurine, and then that mother's side, it's like, it's telling him to get off, and he like leaves in a panic because he doesn't want to hurt her. But there's no passion in that. I guess you can say it was because Anthony Perkins was a homosexual in real life, but he was married with kids at this point, but maybe he was still closeted. That's not here nor there. But in this scene, there's no passion. Like, their lips on each other is like, you don't hear like lip sounds at all. Like, you don't hear any kissing noises. Like, just rubbing their lips on each other. It's so awful. It's like the worst love scene I've ever seen. And it's supposed to like, go nowhere, you know? But at the beginning, there was no passion from the get-go. Not one iota. Not 1 ounce of passion in that scene. I like that Norman actually attempts to chop off his own fingers. Like, he loves Maurine that much. He's like, I do not want to make that same mistake I did with Marian. I'm not going to kill her. He has the knife in his hand. He's bam! Hits the dresser and almost chops off his fingers. Like, he's like, he doesn't do it again because I guess he was like, oh, that hurt too much. I'm not going to go through with it. But I thought that was fucking awesome. I was like, holy shit, he loves her that much. That much. Then this girl goes to use the toilet, except she calls it the John. How classy. And she gets killed, but maybe this is like Norman, like, well, I'm going to go kill her to avoid killing Maurine at this point. So he goes to kill her because she forgot to shut the door when she's using the toilet. That's why I always close the bathroom door when I use the John, because I don't want to get my throat slit. But here's the little thing. She calls Norman's sister at this point. She's like, oh, hey sister, occupado. So at that moment, I was like still in like, maybe there's a twist mode, you know? I was like, maybe it's Maurine, because she was like a nun, and people call nuns like sister, right? So I was like, maybe it's Maurine, because the killings did start after she popped up, so maybe it is. But yeah, there was no twist, and that kind of irritated me. But that was like the one little thing in this movie that I could point to, like, well, that's a red herring, is it not? That's how I interpreted it. Let me know what you thought. But I love how he just like slits her throat, stabs her in the gut, and then stabs the toilet paper. I don't care for that. That's just humor. That's like almost parody level shit. Like, this is almost becoming a parody at this point. It was just kind of like not needed. Like, it's intense, it's scary, and then all of a sudden it's like comedy. Stab toilet paper. That was not needed. I'm sorry. You might like that, but to me, that was just not needed. That was just, it's funny, and it shouldn't be funny. You know, it's like the whole, like, Julius thing, that kid in Halloween 2018, where he's like, oh shit, don't go up there, Dave, you'll get killed. It's like, this is supposed to be serious. Don't be cracking jokes. But then Norman finds the body, and he does that callback to put the hand over his mouth, like, oh. By the way, I think Anthony Perkins did a pretty decent job directing this, so kudos to him. I love how the next day, the sheriff gets there because that girl's missing, and he's like, we have a warrant to search your house. And then Norman goes storming upstairs to like go hide his mom. But then the mom's missing at this point because Jeff Fahey took her the night before. But what makes me laugh is the fat sheriff. Like, it takes him like a good 30 seconds to reach him in his bedroom. He's like, what's wrong with you, Norman? It's like, man, you are out of shape, buddy. You do not deserve that badge. Get your ass in shape. But then he goes down in front of the hotel, and there's a body in the ice machine. He's like eating all this ice. He's eating the ice cubes, and there's like bloody ice, and he sticks it in his mouth, and he doesn't taste it. And he just spits the ice out, and it's comical. Like, this is comical. This is supposed to make you laugh, I guess. It made me laugh. He doesn't taste the blood. He never looks at what he's grabbing. Good for Norman. No one else was paying attention. And then I love this look on Norman's face when he like shuts it. The sheriff shuts the ice thing, and like there's like this giddy look of like a smile, like, haha, I got away with it. You didn't see it. That's a dumb place to hide a body too. That must have been the mother side of Norman's brain, because Norman hides bodies in the swamp every single time, and he does it again in this movie. He's never learning his lesson, because everybody knows about the swamp, but he still keeps going there. But that must have been the mother side, hiding the body in the ice machine. Maybe? I don't know. That's just a dumb place to hide it, because everybody is going to use the ice machine at some point. But now this is 2 movies in a row where a woman is giving Norman an alibi. Like, he couldn't have killed her. He was with me. And then we get my favorite scene, and that's Duke. He's blackmailing Norman. He's like, I know about your past. Tracy told me. I went up to your house. I found your mother. Here she is. And he's like kissing the dead mom. Like, mwah. It's like, you mean your mummy? Here's your mummy. I got her right here. And he's actually playing his guitar. So I was like, wondering if he was ever actually going to play it, because he keeps talking about his guitar and how he's a singer. But we actually get to see him sing and play guitar. But then, here's what I don't like. It's my favorite scene, but I wish there could have been more to it. More of a struggle. Like, he gets taken down quick. And I like how Norman picks up the ashtray, choreographs what he's about to do, basically. It's like picking it up, cocking it back, and then he throws it. And Jeff Fahey just kind of like sits there and takes it. Doesn't even try to dodge. What a moron. And then he gets taken out like that. And I love that he gets taken out with his own guitar. And even when Norman is beating his ass to death with his own guitar, that is his bread and butter, his words, his last like dying words are, watch the guitar. Like, don't hurt my guitar. Then he just cracks him over the head with it again. And then he goes to drive his body to the swamp, and Jeff Fahey is not dead. And he goes to kill Norman a second time, and fails again. Immediately, Norman slams the brakes, and he goes flying into the front. And Norman's like strangling him with his foot as he's driving the car. And he crashes into the swamp, leaves him from dead. So he drowned, and he was strangled with a foot. Awesome stuff. And then this is when Maurine, she was just told about Norman's past during that ice machine thing. And now she's decided, after talking to her psychiatrist, I want to go be with him. He's changed. I'm going to go make love with him. We're going to have babies. We're going to get married. I'm going to get married to that psychopath. Because I'm psycho, obviously. What fucking crazy loony bin. And then, and because of this, I don't like her. Because she's just dumb. And then her character's just wasted. Like, the only purpose she served in this movie was to kind of like flip that switch in Norman's head. You know, to see Marian in her. And to kind of like freak out and have that mother side take over. That's her only purpose. Because she does nothing else. She's a moron. And I like that even Tracy, who's a moron herself, who shows up to Norman's house with what to defend her? A crowbar. Not a gun, not a bucket of acid. Anything would have been better than a fucking crowbar. And I like how she's dressed up like Dr. Loomis. She's like a Dr. Loomis jacket on. Dr. Loomis was smart enough to have a gun. She was not. But when she sees Maurine, when she's dead, and I'll talk about how she died after this. But I like when she sees Maurine dead on the bed, and she's like, you dumb, naive bitch. Like, she's like, you are stupid. And somehow Norman had time and the candles to do this. Like, he had the time to get all these candles and set up this big old like ceremony for her body. Like, just puts her on the bed like she's Sleeping Beauty or the couch. So yeah, I mean, that just shows you how much he loved her. I get it, but damn, how many candles do you have? How long did that take you to do? Because I don't know, it was kind of dumb. But Maurine, she dies like that. The detective in the first Psycho movie where he falls down the stairs. Whoa, whoa. Except in this one, it doesn't look as corny, but it's still stupid. But I like that she gets killed with the bow and arrow from Cupid. Like, she falls into the thing. It's justice. Two reasons why this is ironic. One, she let that nun fall on accident. She let go, and then the nun died. Same thing here. Norman holds her, gets distracted, lets go, she falls, and now she's dead. Boom. Irony, justice, poetic, awesome. And then she falls and gets killed by Cupid, who symbolizes love. And love is basically what is killing her at this moment. If she was not in love with Norman, she wouldn't be there and she wouldn't be dead. So love killed her, literally and figuratively. Like, because she was in love, she died. And then Cupid stabbed her right in the back of the head. But yeah, she's a fucking moron. And then Tracy's a moron. And she's been acting all tough this whole movie. And then when Norman like pops up and he's talking like his mom, like literally he's talking like his mom.
Why can't you leave my poor son, my Norman, alone?
I thought it was creepy and kind of corny, but it's creepy. But she like turns into like any other girl in a horror movie. She's like screaming in hysterics. Doesn't even attempt to use her crowbar. She like throws the crowbar away. She's like, oh yeah, Norman, it wasn't your real mom. And I don't give a shit. And she's like, going into hysterics at this point, just screaming. It almost gets a little annoying how much she's screaming. And just what she's saying, like how she's screaming. It's like, oh my gosh, shut up, woman. But yeah, we get this reveal, like, oh, that woman at the end, that wasn't Miss Spool, that wasn't his mom. That was just his aunt. That she kidnapped Norman when he was like an infant because she wanted to have that kid with Mr. Bates and whatever. And then she killed Mr. Bates. But this is all before Norman was 1 by that time? Well, that doesn't make sense because I could have swore in Psycho 1, correct me if I'm wrong, Norman said my father died of cancer or something when I was 5. Why would he lie about his age? You know, I can see the cause of death being a lie because he wouldn't know. He wasn't told. But 5 and now 1, like they say, like the father died when he was just a baby. No, 5 is not a baby. That's more toddler kid status to me, not baby. But that's neither here nor there. Who gives a shit? Let's wrap this up because this is getting way too long. Okay, so then he gets arrested and smiles at the camera, just like the end of the first movie. He does that big old smile. But also, the cop, he's funny. I just love the cop in this movie. He is more irritated by the fact that he had faith in Norman and was proven wrong. Like, he's more embarrassed for himself than he is upset about the actions and the people that were taken away. You know, like, he doesn't give a fuck. Oh, people die, whatever. You know, I'm ashamed of you, Norman. I was, like, sticking up for you. I was defending your ass in public. I was your defender. And I have faith in you, and you made me look like a fool. I am embarrassed now. It's like, really? That's all you care about? There's 3 people evil in this movie now. Like, you're a selfish bitch. And then they give him the worst frisk job ever. They don't check his pockets for shit. It's like, this is a serial killer. You're not going to frisk him? Because he sneaks his dead mom's arm, like the whole arm from elbow to hand, into his like coat pocket. It's like in there. It's like, I'm just going to bring this with me to the insane asylum. And they don't check that, and they don't smell it. Is it not like rotting flesh? They don't smell that in the backseat of their car. I'm rambling on and on. But yeah, those are the end of my thoughts. Psycho 3 is now over, and that's the end of the series until we get the prequel and the remake. I'm not talking about the remake. I will not be reviewing the remake. So we just got the prequel after this, and then we are done. But yeah, that's the end of Psycho 3. It's a pretty good movie. It's fun. It's not the best. It's definitely number 3 on my list right now. Number 1 or 2 are like right next to each other. Like, Number 3 is like a step down right here. Those are my thoughts on Psycho 3. What were your thoughts on this movie? Post your thoughts of it in the comments below. If you're still here, I hope you are. This is a long video. Sorry. I had to talk about it. I only get to make 1 video for these. You get 1 review, 1 shot. I'm not going to revisit these and make 2 reviews. So I got to get it all in here. I got to jam-pack it into 1. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button over here, and you can become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, I'll feed you soon.